Hi, everybody. Happy Wednesday to all of you. Kendall Smith and Jack Veltri joining you here on GC Live on Gamecock Central. We're so glad that you are with us today. We're excited to talk all things South Carolina, including the transfer portal, including football. There's just a lot happening. We say this every single week, but especially when you're in the midst of the transfer portal period, you've just got a lot to talk about all the time, Jack. So first and foremost, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good, Kendall. Doing good. We haven't spoken since Indiana's massive win over Oregon the other day.
Yes, we haven't. And Jack, so funny story on that. So I was actually reporting a hockey game during the Indiana-Oregon game, and my parents were there, and a bunch of my friends obviously were watching, and I had it pulled up. So I had it, on my phone. I was watching. But when the game started, I was doing an interview. It was in between periods. So I was doing an intermission interview with one of our players. And that takes a little bit of time, and, just going through all that. So I turned my phone off for a second. I'm like, okay, I'll just, pick back up where I left off. I look at my phone after it's over, the interview, and I have probably 20 texts. I'm not kidding you. 20 texts. Like, I'm not even exaggerating. And they were all so cryptic. It was like, OMG, no way. What the heck? Like, all these crazy texts. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, I started panicking. Like, I think you sent me one too, Jack.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? Like, yeah. Jack said something that I will not repeat because it's not good to say.
Holy four-letter word. Yes. Interpret that how you will.
Yeah. So Jack sent that to me, and I'm like, I truly freaked out. I thought something bad happened. But yeah, shout out Indiana. I mean, come on. It doesn't get any better than that. I was very excited. So excited for them and looking forward to the national championship, which we will talk about a little bit later in the show. Thanks, everybody. You guys are just being so nice to us here today. We appreciate you. You're the best. So yeah, I'm doing well, Jack, ready to talk football with you. And I know that everybody out there is ready to talk about it too, because some big news dropped here today for South Carolina. But before we get into it, we want to give a shout out to Clint Hammond, who makes this show possible.
You're right, Kendall. So if you have ever heard us before on GC Live, you've probably heard us talk plenty of times about our good friend Clint Hammond, the mortgage guru out at CMG Home Loans. If you are in the market to potentially buy a home or need help with your mortgage and really don't know where to begin because it could be a complicated process, well, Clint is your guy to get in touch with. He'll take you through the process step by step and get you going on that right path towards buying that dream home or getting that mortgage all taken care of. Clint has been in the mortgage industry for over 20 years now. He's a lifelong Gamecock fan, a longtime supporter of what we do here at Gamecock Central and all of our GC Live. He's the presenting sponsor, actually, of all of our GC Live programs. So, if you're interested, give him a call, 803-422-6797. The NMLS number for him is 71597, or go to clinthammond.com for more info. And this comment right here from Josh is correct. Clint is the GOAT. So appreciate Clint for always sponsoring us and letting us do what we do here at GC Live.
He is the best, and we, like you said, are so grateful for what he does. Okay, let's get into the news because this is what everyone's talking about here today. There was a little back and forth on this over the last week or so, but it is officially official. Josiah Thompson will return to South Carolina for the 2026 season. A little backstory on this. He did, in fact, enter the transfer portal. So it was expected that he would be leaving South Carolina, pursuing a new opportunity, a new school. Well, earlier today, it was made official he will not do that. He will stay at South Carolina for next season. So, Jack, when you heard this official news, what was going through your head? What'd you think?
Well, I think the last time, trying to think. So last week, I think it was on the Wednesday we were supposed to do GC Live, and you had to call out right before. I remember, no. It was Friday. We had talked.
It was Friday because I remember you bringing it up, and you were like, "No, his name is in the transfer."
Well, to be fair,
it was
in the portal. It was in the portal, so it wasn't like he had just never put it in. So let's disclaimer for that. I will say I'm wrong about the fact that, well, I don't really have much to be wrong about here because he, withdrew his name from the portal. I mean, it was in the portal. That was the point I think I was trying to make. So he's taken his name out of the portal now, and I think there had been the murmurings out there about what he was doing and whatnot in Miami and Georgia, where the schools interested in him. He had gone on visits to those schools, and I don't want to speculate too much because I don't know exactly what went down for this sudden change of plans, but you got to imagine that there was something that just happened on those visits where maybe he was asked, maybe it was a money thing where he's asking for a lot of money and those schools aren't paying him what he wanted, and he comes back to South Carolina. I'm not sure exactly what happened there, but you got to imagine something happened for him to now come back to South Carolina after entering his name into the portal. And for South Carolina, you're getting a guy back that is a 2-year starter at left tackle. You got to imagine that Jacarius Peak is going to be your left tackle right out of the gate this season. I mean, he is, I personally think, a better player than Josiah is. And that's the thing for Josiah now, right? He's coming off kind of a down year in 2025. I think he was pretty good in 24 and earned, all freshman honors in the SEC, but really took a step back in 2025, as did pretty much South Carolina's entire offensive line. The thing for him now, I think, is that he's going to have to go out here and earn his spot, right? He's got to, he's not going to be just given the left tackle job next season, especially with Peak over there. He's probably going to have to go out there and earn the right tackle job since Casey Henry is no longer here at South Carolina. So that job will be open for a battle with the different guys on the offensive line. So it's good that he's coming back. It gives you another offensive lineman that has plenty of starting experience. He's now the third offensive lineman to return with starting experience. That group includes now Thompson, Shed Surratt, and Nolan Hay. So besides that, those 3 guys are returning, and then you're losing a ton of scholarship offensive linemen to the portal, but you're bringing in 6 new guys. So I think it's good that Thompson is back, but he's got to go out here and earn his spot, like I said.
Well, just to clarify, Jack, you don't think that, or there hasn't been any reported reason why Thompson is coming back? It hasn't been stated yet, reported that he is coming back because of XYZ. Just reported that, yes, he will be coming back to South Carolina and withdrawing his name from the portal. So we don't know the why as of right now. And obviously, we don't want to speculate on that too much, but there isn't a direct, exact reason that has been reported from a verified source.
That info will probably come. If it doesn't come from a verified source in the meantime, I would say the next time we'll probably learn about this is either spring ball or probably spring ball whenever we get to talk to these guys in media availability. I don't know. I just think you see how money can become an issue at these schools. I don't know what it is exactly, but it's it's good to see that he's coming back, and it adds another offensive lineman to the room, and maybe he can do much better under a guy like Randy Clements. I mean, obviously the development under Lonnie Teasley was just not where it needed to be, and hence why he got fired mid-season. I think with Clem, you're kind of hoping that he can turn a guy like Josiah into the 5-star offensive tackle he was coming out of high school and the freshman year he had. Of course, he wasn't perfect as a freshman, but again, he went from being all SEC freshman to being one of South Carolina's worst offensive linemen in 2025. When you just look at the metrics and the PFF grades, I mean, he was always at the bottom of the list. So he's got a lot to improve on for 26, I should say. And you hope that a guy like Clem can help him out with that.
Well, a new coach and obviously some competition in the room as well, as you mentioned, South Carolina, adding Peak to the mix, which I think is going to be really obviously beneficial, not only for the offensive line, but for the competition side of things as well, you'd imagine he's got his spot locked up. But when you have other guys that are performing at such a high level and are so good, that obviously could be a catalyst for other people in the room to really get things going. And we know that Josiah Thompson was just so highly praised coming out of high school. Massive pickup for South Carolina when he was in high school and ultimately committed to the Gamecocks. So great to have him back. And it was big news early this morning. Obviously, the biggest news of the day, Josiah Thompson will return to South Carolina for the 2026 season. He has officially withdrew his name from the transfer portal. And speaking of the transfer portal, Jack, we haven't talked in a week, or 5 days, but it's still been a lot that has happened for South Carolina. Now up to 17 commitments out of the transfer portal. And I honestly, because this happened so fast, I won't even lie, I can't even remember who the last one, I think was Peak the last one that had committed to South Carolina the last time we talked.
Yes.
Now,
so since we spoke
10 people
on Friday,
committed.
yes, there were 10 commitments from Friday to Sunday, so January 9th to the 11th. The span of a weekend, South Carolina just went nuts in the portal. And I'll just read off the guys that they got, Kendall, and we can talk about it. So I will also reference this. Wes wrote a hot board details on each South Carolina transfer commit on Gamecock Central. He wrote that story yesterday. It's got literally what it says it does, just details on what you need to know, about a paragraph each on every single guy, their eligibility, their position, their weight, height, where they're from, all that. So go ahead and check that out on GamecockCentral.com, because we would be here forever if we're just talking one by one about every single guy. But we can get into some of them for sure, Kendall. But since Friday, South Carolina has landed Emmanuel Kojo Poku from East Carolina, offensive lineman, who is a tackle that even Wes wrote in his story. He projects him to be a starter on the offensive line. So that might be a little tougher for a guy like Josiah Thompson with Peak and Poku potentially on at the tackle spots. Thompson might need to, either play guard or figure something else out there. Sam Williams-Dixon, running back from Ohio State. Nitro Tuggle, wide receiver from Purdue. Dane Arnett, offensive lineman from Ferris State. That was all for Friday. Then on Saturday, the 10th, I know I'm going to butcher this name, so just give me a second here. Tomiwa Dorojawai. Tomiwa Dorojawai. Illinois defensive tackle. I probably butchered that. I'm so sorry. Long snapper Emmett Rhodes from Western Carolina, also on Saturday. And then getting into Sunday, 4 more commitments, all of which came in the span of like 15 minutes, I want to say, with the first 3. Seth Smith, offensive lineman, Northern Arizona. And then the Collins brothers, Kelby and Drew. Kelby played at Alabama on the defensive line, and then Drew played edge at Arkansas State. Both committed like right after Seth Smith. And then later in the afternoon, you got a second running back commitment from Jabri Wallace-Coleman, who will follow Stan Drayton from Penn State. So all in total, 10 guys over the weekend. And yeah, just a real nice portal cycle so far for the Gamecocks.
Yeah, and like you said, we have had now 10 new commitments since we last talked. So I asked you last week how you would assess the way that South Carolina has done so far with the transfer portal, and you said pretty good. Like, you thought it was going so far so good, but you needed a little bit more time to ultimately decide how you feel like South Carolina is doing. So you had a little more time now. You've seen more commitments. We have a little bit of a clearer picture. So how would you assess the way that they've done now, knowing what you know?
What did I say on Friday that I gave them
you said pretty good. I mean, obviously they needed to figure out the running back situation. So we did talk about that, and they have figured that out over the last week. Yeah. So that's been helpful. That was your main point.
And I think they're supposed to be getting Christian Clark, running back from Texas, potentially on campus this weekend from what I read. So I think you need to add my thing with the running back situation. It's nice to add 2 running backs, Dixon and Coleman. The problem is neither of those guys really played at all. Like, Coleman didn't play at Penn State as a freshman. He redshirted. And then you have Dixon, who was buried on the depth chart at Ohio State. So you're hoping like right now you have 5 running backs in that room that would be on scholarship. You have the 2 transfers. You have Isaiah Gustave. You have Matt Fuller and Jordan Howell. That's great. I still think you could go out there and add a guy like a Christian Clark that, from Texas that, had a really good Citrus Bowl against Michigan and has some real playing experience. So I think they could definitely go out there and get another running back. How would I look at this whole cycle right now? I think on a grading scale, I think South Carolina probably deserves about an A right now. I think they've just added at all the positions that they've needed to. They've gotten an edge rusher. They've gotten running backs. They've gotten offensive linemen. They've even addressed their special teams needs with a kicker and a long snapper. So, I don't know how many more commitments South Carolina is going to get, Kendall, because the portal is open for 2 more days until Friday. And with that, it just means you just can only enter your name into the portal until the 16th. You could still sign guys, I believe, after the fact. But for right now, you're still going to see a few guys enter their name in and whatnot. But I think for South Carolina, they've really hit on just about every position. And I would expect maybe a few more guys. We'll see once this little dead period ends and coaches can start talking to players again and whatnot and trying to get them on visits, which we'll see this weekend maybe. But, yeah, I think South Carolina's done a pretty good job so far and added at all the positions they've needed to. Can't really complain there.
An A rating from Jack Veltri, which he's being honest. You know that he's not lying to you about that because Jack does not sugarcoat anything. He will tell you how it is and exactly how he feels. So an A rating is, that's good stuff. We'll see if they're able to add on a plus. Maybe they'll get an A+ by the time this is all said and done, and Jack can give his final grade, which we'll talk about here soon, not on this show, but in a future show. Okay, Jack, so we look at those 10 guys that South Carolina has added since our last show, and I'm curious, which of those guys excites you the most? Which one do you think could come in, just of the 10 that we haven't talked about yet, and really make an impact early and off the jump?
Good question. I think there is a pretty good answer here. I'm going to go with Nitro Tuggle, who just has an electric name. Played at Purdue, wide receiver. He comes in as a guy that I just think immediately, based on what he did last year at Purdue, 34 catches, 500 receiving yards, 4 touchdowns, averaged 14.5 yards per catch. That's a guy that in this receiver room, which has a lot of guys, I think he could come in and make a real big impact. He should be able to be one of those starting receivers in 26. And I think wide receiver wasn't necessarily the main position you needed to go out there and fill. Vandrevius Jacobs leaves for Miami. Brian Rowe leaves for the West Coast to go play at UCLA. Yeah, you needed to probably bring in another receiver, which is exactly what South Carolina has done, and I really don't anticipate. You have Jaden Gibson as well, but I don't anticipate them needing to add another receiver. I just think that room is pretty crowded at this point with all the returning players. But Nitro's a guy that never really had he didn't have any 100-yard games, actually, matter of fact, in 25. His highest output receiving-wise came in the last game of the year, coincidentally against against Indiana for 80 yards receiving. So I would imagine he's a guy that with his history can really do some good things in this offense. So I think that's probably going to be the guy I go with here.
Well, Jack, as we look ahead, and yeah, this is a good point here. So Indiana and Miami will have a chance. Their players will have a chance to enter the portal once the national championship is done. So there is a chance that South Carolina could sign a guy from Miami or from Indiana by the time the national championship is over and those guys are able to make their decisions. But when we look ahead to, the portal closing here for most teams in just a couple of days, or the opportunity to enter your name in the portal, is there anybody else on South Carolina's team right now that you're like, maybe you could see them leaving? Do you have anything out there? I know that's a tough question because you're obviously not, texting these guys 24/7, getting the latest on their thoughts. But do you think that most of those that are going to leave have probably left by this point and entered their names?
I think so. We're getting down to the home stretch here of guys being able to enter their name into the portal. There's thousands and thousands. I wonder what the count is really up to of how many guys are in the portal at this point. I have not looked, but like I can imagine it's probably on the upper echelon of the thousands at this point. So yeah, I think we're kind of getting down to like if you're in the portal at this point, like that's probably it. And here's the sad reality of the portal, Kendall, is all these guys enter the portal, but the harsh truth is that not all of them are going to get signed. Right? We're gonna see so many different guys that are in there right now. They just don't find a home. That is even from South Carolina. I'm sure we'll see a few guys like that. Like it's a tough truth that your playing career may come to an end once you enter the portal if you don't find a home. So because you want to take that next step forward, obviously, and find a better program that you could play at and whatnot, but that's not always going to be the case. So I think you'll probably see maybe like I don't know. I would say a few more, but it's probably going to be maybe like a couple hundred more. I'm not sure. I can't really ballpark it, but we'll definitely see if probably some more guys enter the portal. Like we've seen some today, I think. But as far as South Carolina goes, I think we're kind of at the tail end of like we know who's coming back at this point. Like pretty much all the important players to this point have announced their intentions one way or the other, what they're doing. You've lost a few players to the portal, but not a ton of them are major impact guys, especially on the offensive line. I think you're okay with that. Dre Jacobs is probably the main one that you're like, it sucks that he left, but got some guys to replace him. And there's a large amount of guys who could play in that wide receiver room. So I think we pretty much know at this point what this roster is going to look like, barring a few more additions out of the portal.
Okay, we're talking a couple new additions potentially for South Carolina out of the portal. What do you think? No tight end.
Yeah.
South Carolina. Does that concern you?
Yes and no. So I got to pull it up. I know we wrote a story about it on Central the other day. I believe they do have a transfer coming in on a visit, but I want to make sure I get that information right as my screen is loading here. But in the meantime, yes, South Carolina does still need to add a tight end, in my opinion, and they've got one coming in on a visit. I'm pulling up again.
If they do add a tight end, then Jack will automatically up the rating to an A+.
Yes, maybe I will. New Mexico State tight end Gavin Harris is going to be coming on a visit on Thursday. So that will be, a potential guy to keep an eye on here. We have it confirmed on Gamecock Central. Pete Nakos reported that the other day. So, yeah, so South Carolina will have a tight end on a visit. I know they had one on a visit from Florida State, but he committed elsewhere. So, you're kind of hoping that's like the last position I think that South Carolina needs to go hit up. I've seen some people commenting here about Michael Smith, former tight end of the Gamecocks, and what he's doing. Like 99% positive he's committed to Syracuse. I know that's what has been reported out there. So until something changes, I don't know if he's coming back. I don't know what's going on out there, but definitely need to go out there and get a tight end. So you got Brady Hunt, you have Mike Tyler, but let's be honest, what worked for Lenore Sellers 2 years ago when he was playing well was having a good running back room and then having a good tight end to throw to as your potential top target in that receiving room. And that's what you had with Josh Simon and Rocket Sanders, and you're kind of hoping you can get that out of one of these running backs here. And then I still think Brady can be a good tight end for you. But, we saw what the tight end room looked like when he was leading the charge last year. And maybe that was more so the Mike Shula offense and not really getting tight ends involved. You'd like to have a good pass catching tight end in that room that you can rely on. So we'll see what happens with that.
Outside of a tight end, any other positions that you'd like to see South Carolina finish strong with here in this portal cycle? Anything that you feel like they could maybe add on to?
Yeah, I would not mind seeing a running back. I think of some sort at this point. I think you'd be okay even taking a like another guy that's kind of like one of these unproven players that committed to a good school but ends up transferring to South Carolina. Like I could totally see that happening. But I think you're good with Williams, Dixon, and Coleman as those guys. I think running back, maybe. It's not my like dying priority, but I would say it's a position for sure. Edge rusher, I think one more guy would be nice. Not to say Drew Collins is not a great option. He is a very good option. Had 3 sacks last year at Arkansas State. Fine little player, but I think you want to probably add maybe one more guy at the edge. You can never have another off. You can never not have enough offensive linemen, in my opinion. If you get another guy, that's great. But I would say tight end is number 1 for me. I'll go edge at number 2, and then running back number 3. So those would be the top 3 positions that you want to kind of round out the portal with. I'm even seeing DB here. I actually don't think that's a terrible idea. You got Quaysheed Scott from Kentucky. Last week we talked about that since he committed on January 8th. Yeah, I would say that's another position that you maybe want to add at, but I do think South Carolina's got a pretty good group coming in with the freshmen, and you got Scott, obviously, and then some of the returners. I don't think it's as big of an issue because you're really just replacing 3 starters, and I think South Carolina is going to do pretty good there. And quarterback, I don't know what they're going to do because I don't, I think they could get a quarterback for sure. I know they offered Malachi Marshall, the top-rated JUCO quarterback in the country last week. Will he commit? We'll see. That would be nice. You have Cutter Woods, though. I think he could be a viable option as a backup. Maybe you want to add one more just for scholarship's sake of having 4 scholarship quarterbacks on the roster. But if not, we'll see.
It will be interesting to see who the backup is for South Carolina at the quarterback position this year. I'm sure that's something that we'll talk about a lot more as we get closer to the season. But Jack, before we continue, we've got a couple more sponsors to shout out.
Yeah, so real quick, if you love golf, you need to go check out our friends over at palmettogolfing.com for the latest custom-made gear. And even if you don't play golf, Palmetto Golf and Belts is a great place to grab a gift for that favorite golfer in your life. They've got custom golf gloves, golf tees, golf towels, all available in the South Carolina garnet, the cross design, palmetto tree and moon design, and so much more. One of the coolest things in the shop is the needlepoint belts, which are extremely well made, but also more affordable than many of the others on the market. Palmetto Golf and Belts is operated by Brandon Cohn, who is a big South Carolina fan and longtime member over at GamecockCentral.com. Our members on the Insiders Forum are loving the products that Brandon has in his brand new shop, and he runs special deals all the time. Head on over to PalmettoGolfing.com today, check out his shop, and support a South Carolina fan, GamecockCentral.com member, and get yourself some great gear. And then also I got to talk to you guys about Ferry Chevrolet. If you're a South Carolina fan who's interested in a new or used vehicle, make sure you check out our friends over at Ferry Chevrolet in Orangeburg, led by a 4th-generation dealer in Joseph Ferry. The family-owned business over at Ferry Chevrolet has been serving the community for 100 years now, since 1926. It is conveniently located just off of I-26 between Columbia and Charleston. The folks over at Ferry Chevrolet are local, trustworthy, and always transparent. The business began in St. Matthews and was built on honesty, integrity, and a handshake, and they still operate with those same principles to this day. Head on over to Ferry Chevrolet today to check out their inventory and to get in touch.
Okay, Jack, let's do a quick check-in on the guys that left South Carolina for other schools. Where are they headed? What's the latest on some of those guys?
Yeah, and so Michael Smith is listed on GamecockCentral.com as leaving for Syracuse. So that's out there. So I'll run down the list. Ryan Brubaker did enter the transfer portal officially yesterday. Offensive lineman, that makes it, I believe now, with Thompson coming back, I'm pretty sure that is now 8 scholarship offensive linemen that are leaving for other schools. Besides that, in case you missed anything, edge rusher Jalen Brown going to LSU. Dre Jacobs, like I said before, Miami. Boaz Stanley, fan favorite around here at South Carolina. Just kidding, guys. Don't mean to, But anyway, offensive lineman leaving for Purdue. Tree Babalade, Nebraska. Aaron Nolan, Memphis. Kason Henry, Louisville. Brian Rowe, UCLA, Troll, Texas A&M. Jaron Willis going to Kansas. Xavier Hardy he was going to UCF. Then he decided to flip his commitment to Baylor. Nick Sharp, Michigan State, and like I said, Michael Smith, Syracuse. There are currently only 3 guys of the departures that are not committed to a new school. That'd be Rodney Newsom, Miles Norwood, and Tayshawn Alston. And Ryan Brubaker as well. So 4 of your 16 departures have not found another school, but otherwise everyone else has found a home. And the latest, I believe, as I'm looking at this list, the latest was Aaron Noland yesterday committing to Memphis. So that is a big move for Air to go from Ohio State to South Carolina to a G5 school where he can potentially find some more playing time.
Well, Jack, we talked about not really knowing exactly what this roster would look like, especially before the transfer portal, but we're starting to get more of an idea of it now, which is exciting. And I think that this portal cycle has given fans a little bit more hope, maybe a little bit more to look forward to for this 2026 season. It seems like South Carolina has done a pretty good job. Now, of course, you don't actually know that until the season starts and we see those guys out there and see how they actually perform in South Carolina's system. But you're feeling good about it so far, feeling confident, and you feel like South Carolina did what it needed to do in this transfer portal. The thing is, though, that we talked about last week is obviously everybody has the opportunity to utilize the portal. And when I say everybody, I mean every school. So other SEC schools, same thing, getting after it in the portal. I know we're not paying attention to them every week. And I asked you this question last week, or I should say we're not paying attention to them every day, but have there been any other schools that have stood out to you that you feel like maybe are crushing it right now in the SEC?
In the portal? Let's see. God, honestly, that's a good question.
I always
you caught me off guard with that one. I should probably be keeping up with what the rest of because keeping up with the rest of the SEC, see what's going on. Let me go look at the portal rankings right now. That's a really good question that I just was genuinely. I didn't think that would come up, but it's a good.
We got to keep our eye on other teams, right? Because we kind of live within our bubble, so we see, South Carolina seems to be doing pretty well in the portal. They're getting needs where they need guys at various position groups, and they're crushing it according to our standards. But then you're looking across the SEC, and you're like, well,
can I just read off this top 10 real quick of on 3 team transfer? It is. I just looked at this list, and it's kind of crazy to see the top 10 teams in the portal rankings. Texas Tech's at 1, not really a big surprise right there. Indiana at 2, not a big surprise. We'll see how many guys they lose after the season ends. Virginia Tech is at number 3. A&M's at number 4, so that would be the SEC team that I guess has really been good so far. They got Troll. Obviously, number 5 is Louisville. Number 6 is Houston. Number 7 is Ole Miss. Number 8 is Florida. Number 9 is Arkansas. And a little bit of a surprise, well, not really actually, since this is how this team operates in this day and age, is Colorado at number 10. So that's a team right there that really uses the transfer.
Where is South Carolina in these rankings?
Let's see. I'm scrolling down. I am number 24. And ironically enough, 1 spot ahead of Clemson. So I don't know if that's necessarily a good or bad thing because we know how Clemson really has not used the portal to its advantage. Although this year I will say
they're kind of changing it though. Dabo said he wasn't going to use it, and then it's like, okay, well, if you're not going to, keep up with the times in college football, then unfortunately everyone's going to keep moving and you're going to get left behind. So he's kind of had to in certain ways.
Totally. Yeah. And just for more perspective here, 24 is not great necessarily, but it is 2 spots ahead of Ohio State, who has lost 30 transfers. I mean, that's just an insane number here. I'm looking at Oklahoma State is 1 spot ahead of South Carolina. Guess how many transfers are leaving their program? It's pretty high.
41.
41. 64.
Oh.
64 transfers and 45 transfers coming in. That's just outrageous. So, yeah, I mean, if I'm looking at the SEC, like South Carolina's done a great job, I think, quite honestly. Like they've gotten some real quality players by the looks of it. But I mean,
yeah, and like these rankings, just like, saying this now, like, yes, of course, they are based on metrics, they're based on stats, they're based on how these guys have played. But you never know, like, if you are going to get a diamond in the rough and maybe potentially someone that hasn't played a lot at another school or we don't know a ton about that could come in and be really successful with a team like South Carolina. So you kind of gamble a little bit in certain ways. We talked about a couple of those guys that South Carolina did sign that don't really have a lot of playing time, but they have the ability, they have the tools, they have the skill set to be successful. So that's the other part of it. It's like, yeah, you're recruiting guys based on how they've performed and what you've seen, but you're also recruiting guys on just, I don't want to say vibes, but like just getting that sense that they will be successful within the program. So the thing is, you don't know with a lot of them because a lot of them are transferring because they didn't play a lot. So that's what makes it tough. You're going to a school like Ohio State. The depth chart is unreal at Ohio State. You're not playing a ton. That doesn't mean you're a bad player. It just means that there were guys in front of you that had been there longer, had more experience, maybe a little bit better, or developed a little bit more at the time. So it's all interesting to see. And that's why I really enjoy talking about it, but I look forward to the season when we can actually see these guys get out there on the gridiron and play, Jack.
Totally, Kendall. I will ask you the question you asked me earlier. When you look at the list of guys that are joining the team in 2026, and again, you're right, we really don't know a ton about these guys other than what they did at previous schools and where they're ranked and, the On3 portal rankings for players and whatnot. Is there any name or any position group of guys that they've added that you're excited about for South Carolina?
Well, I'm excited to see how these running backs develop for South Carolina. I know we talked about both of them don't really have a ton of experience, but I think it will be interesting to see how they do within the system. And you did mention Tuggle, obviously being someone that has family, that parents that went to Indiana. I watch Indiana and I know a lot about Purdue because my uncle went there, and you can tell based on the reaction from people when someone leaves, they're very upset, especially on social media and kind of going a little crazy over there. That player was impactful. And I know that a lot of Purdue fans were not particularly thrilled to see that news. So I thought that you did great with that answer. But I am excited to see how these running backs do for South Carolina. And I really hope that it goes well because, like you said, when everything is working out together, I'm going to use the word synergy because Fernando Mendoza used it about 500 times on his post-game interview the other day, which was great. But when everything's kind of working and you're finding that synergy together, we've seen it work really well for Lenora Sellers. Like you said, when he has a tight end, that's why I'm hoping South Carolina gets a tight end throughout this process. When he has running backs that are able to work and kind of get the job done. So I'm curious to see how they do. And obviously just happy that South Carolina has been able to get a lot done with the O-line. We were very concerned about that. And so when you look at the list as a whole, I mean, obviously, Jacarius Peak is the one that's going to stand out, probably top of mind for a lot of people. He's so good, and that commitment for South Carolina was massive. So, yeah, I could go through a few of them for sure, but the O-line, you feel kind of a sigh of relief looking at this list, and you're like, okay, feeling a lot better now than you did a few weeks ago, because for us, that was a point where we're like, it has to, like, there's really not a choice. It's not negotiable. Like, South Carolina has to be successful in the portal at the O-line position. And I feel like they were.
Definitely. And this is a good question here from Todd Gwynn asking about what big targets are left for South Carolina to have a chance with in the portal. They do have, as I'm spoiling a little bit of what we have on Gamecock Central. Again, check out the transfer portal headquarters. That is your one-way stop. You're not yet your one-way stop to see what all is going on with the portal. Shop. Thank you. I'm not good at the slang and the phrases and whatnot. I think of it in my head. I think it sounds good.
What you were saying was like true, yeah. But I knew what you were getting at.
Yeah, you get it. So they've got 4 different guys coming in on visits. You got, like I said, Christian Clark, running back from Texas. You got an edge rusher coming in from Tennessee. I'm not going to spoil all these names. I talked about Clark earlier, so I'll talk about that one. But you got an edge rusher coming in from Tennessee, and then an offensive lineman from Texas State, and then a offensive lineman from Taft School. I've never heard of Taft School. I don't know if that's named after former U.S. President William Taft, but I can imagine that might be the case. But it's in Watertown, Connecticut, if I'm looking at this correctly. So, but anyway, so you got 4 guys coming in on visits right now, 2 more offensive linemen, a running back, and a edge rusher. So we'll see. I mean, that's the current list right now. But look, South Carolina's done a great job of getting guys in on visits, getting them to commit in most cases. They have missed out on a few guys. Chaz Coleman, I believe the last time we spoke, he was still up in the air on what he was doing. He committed to Tennessee over the weekend. So that was one big one you lost out on there. Jordan Norman's another big one from Tulane that is an edge rusher that committed elsewhere. So you're kind of hoping that South Carolina can get one more edge rusher for sure. But in terms of the spots that they're looking at right now, it seems to be more offensive linemen, running back, and edge.
Okay, Jack, before we get out of here, we got to talk about the game.
As we do every week.
We do this every week, everybody. So, like, please, like, don't hate. Like, seriously.
Let me just say.
College football show for the most part. Like, we're going to talk about the national championship. I'm sorry. Go ahead and click out now if you don't want to hear about it.
I know. I saw someone comment on our live stream last week, and I wasn't going to bring it up, but it's like, if you don't like it, I'm sorry. We talk about South Carolina, and we try to make it about South Carolina as much as we can. Hence why we were saving this until the end of the show. So, we're going to continue to do it the way we've done it. And, not most people seem to enjoy it until the overwhelming consensus is that we need to stop talking about other teams at the end of our show and what's going on in the greater landscape of college football. We'll stop. We'll keep talking about it until otherwise. So we're
see. We're going to talk about it like we are, because it's the national championship, just like we would talk about, honestly, the Super Bowl when it comes around. So, yeah, Miami, Indiana, this Monday, Hard Rock Stadium, Miami, Florida. It's interesting because it is in Miami. It's at Miami's home stadium. However, I would not be surprised to see it majority Hoosier fans.
The big question I have for you, your parents went to the Peach Bowl. Are you going to go to the national championship?
So I told you last week it was up in the air because we are going to the Olympics in just a couple of weeks in Milano Cortina, which I'm very excited for. Tickets are like $4,000 and it's like $750 to park.
Damn! What? $750 to park a car?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. So I will not be going. I will be watching from the comfort of my own home.
That's insane.
I heard 4K. Maybe they dropped to 2,000. If they did, somebody let me know, because I might reconsider my choices. But yeah, I will not be going. Wild. My parents will not be going. I think my parents should go, honestly, because they went there. We've been for life Indiana fans. Like, every single year that Indiana was terrible, my parents were still watching every single game. So I think that they should go. What's the lowest?
Lowest right now on SeatGeek is $3,000. Let me look up parking, because that is.
That was for my mom. So we'll hopefully she was giving correct reporting on that.
No, that's hold on. The lowest parking I see right now is $181. But I do see there is parking for your mouth might drop, Kendall. There's parking in this Black East lot for $9,500 for parking.
What?
I don't know. I'm seeing this on SeatGeek and I'm like, what is? So $180 sounds a lot more realistic.
But. Yeah, but $180 where? Like, that's the thing.
That's the thing. Probably the other side of Miami, probably.
Yeah, like. Good luck. You're in Tampa, $180 in Tampa. Good luck. One taker. We got it. Okay, great. I will not be going, but I am excited to watch, and I really hope Indiana wins. I really, really, really do. I think that they're the better team. I think they should win, but I just don't know. In Indiana fashion, they could absolutely lose. I think Miami's a great team, but if they do what they need to do and play to their standards, I think that they should win.
I agree.
So, we'll see. I'm looking forward to it. And yeah, go Hoosiers. Hoosiers, as they say. Yeah, that was great. And the realest thing ever was when Kurt Signetti was like, I'll crack a beer open, or I want to crack a beer open at the end of this game. I was like, honestly.
Indiana's a great team. I really have not gotten a chance to watch them sit down for like a full game and watch them, but they're really good. Like, they just demolished Oregon, and it was crazy to see.
We thought the Alabama game was bad, but no, this one was even crazier. And my parents were there, which was so sweet because they have been fans for life. Yeah. There will be a show next week. I don't think that I will be going to Bloomington. We did think about that, though. We thought about, okay, maybe we should go to Bloomington for the national.
Like the bar. Like, how's the bar scene out?
Amazing. Oh my gosh, it's so fun. It's such a college town in Bloomington. There is nothing but Indiana University. So everything there just revolves around it. And it is the college town. There's like Nick's, Kilroy's, like all these great bars in Bloomington that are so fun. So yeah, I will not be there, but I am rooting on the Hoosiers. And Jack, what the heck was that? That was a heck of a game.
That was crazy.
First road win for Josh Allen in the playoffs. Came up clutch when he needed to. Shout out Bills.
I was sweating when there was 1 minute left. I've seen 13 seconds be enough time for a team to tie a game. So I was thinking minute left. Jags probably need to get to the 50, kick a field goal, going to overtime. But first play interception. And I know all the Gamecock fans were excited about that since Trevor Lawrence is the one who threw the interception there. But big win, never a doubt. And now they get to play now they play the Broncos on Saturday. So we will be locked in for that.
Cheering on the Bills. Unfortunately, Panthers.
I know. What a disappointment that was.
I knew when the Rams got the ball back with like 2.5 minutes. I'm like, it's over.
But the Panthers played really well, to be honest. So
they did, and they went way further this season than anybody would have anticipated.
Totally.
So shout out to them. I'm proud of them. You know, they made us the playoffs, but it was disappointing, to say the very least, to watch that. But I feel like I'm like always watching a Gamecock with the Panthers. It's like the greatest thing. Like JC, and then like they really get like, I'm always like, yes. Like, that's South Carolina. That's South Carolina. Like, it's the best. Yeah, the Steelers, I wanted the Texans to win. We could just go. Now we're talking about the NFL. People are about to get real mad, Jack.
I know. We're going to get some comments after this, after the fact. Like, you guys need to talk more about South Carolina. I mean, we are technically talking about South Carolina. We spent the
first 40 minutes of the show talking about South Carolina. Absolutely. This is Jack and I's time to talk about football, and everyone who wants to join in.
And until if somebody gets a collection of comments that says we should not be talking about this, until something changes, we will continue to do it.
Is when we talk about baseball.
Don't worry. We will be talking about the Yankees finally made a freaking move yesterday. So it took until January 13th to add a new player to the roster, but I am, I'm excited about baseball here. Gamecock baseball is less than a month away now. So
it is. So we'll be talking a lot about Gamecock baseball as well. When I'm at the Olympics, maybe I'll do a live hit with you guys from Italy. Live from the hockey game, just like pull out my phone. What's up? We got Team USA in the background.
That arena.
We love sports. We love sports.
We do love sports.
What can we say? Yeah. All right. Well, everyone, we appreciate you for joining us here on the show today. It's always so much fun with all of you. We'll be back next week to talk all things South Carolina. We keep saying it every week, but like, we should get into some basketball next week. I think next week will probably be the time where we do. And we'll talk about baseball probably as well, because
we're getting there
very, very quickly, which we are excited about. Jack is excited about. It's your favorite sport to cover, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Jack's favorite sport, baseball. All right, everybody. For Jack Veltri, I'm Kendall Smith. This has been GC Live here on Gamecock Central. Have a great rest of your Wednesday, and we'll see you soon. Bye, everybody.